Welcome everybody to another episode of Pages from Rock Bottom. I'm Matt. And this is my wife Kim. Tonight we are joined by Jared. He entered recovery on 5/5 of 2019.
Woo! That's good. That's a good date. 2019.
That's the day after my birthday.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
also
Well, welcome.
one day after May the 4th be with you. So I was very close to Star Wars Day. Yeah, I missed it.
That's how everybody remembers my birthday.
May
Mhm.
the 4th be with you.
Hell yeah, man! Your Star Wars Day.
That's funny.
All right, give me that trigger warning.
All right. Trigger warning, guys. I don't know where it went, but we're going to be talking about addiction, substance abuse, legal consequences, emotional struggles associated with active addiction. So viewer discretion is advised. If you guys get triggered really easily, please just be gentle with yourself. Maybe take a break, walk away, whatever you guys need to do. Don't watch or come back and watch if you guys can.
Yep.
There you go. All right, Jared, tell us who you are and where you're from.
So my name is Jared. I live in Waverly, Ohio. I work in recovery, and I'm in recovery since they said May 5th, 2019. Yeah, that's about it. Father, family man, work. It's about what I do these days. So it's better than what I was doing years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same. Well,
So-
thank you for joining us. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to tell anyone who listens to this on playback or live or whatever. I apologize for being sick. Maybe I can come on in the future and do more like of a proper lead rather than just answering some questions. I enjoy doing leads, but not when I'm doing everything I can to not throw up. So,
Well, we appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys being patient with me.
Oh, you're welcome. We appreciate you for coming on and giving us your time, even though you're ready to vomit into the toilet.
All right,
Right.
told you, man. I'm big baby when I'm sick. I'll be down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. He definitely is. Don't. Baby is not the word.
Now,
All right. Can you give us? Huh?
Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I feel like Yeah, go ahead. You go.
What?
Can you just give us a snapshot of your life before addiction fully took hold of you?
Yeah, so my story is like a lot of others, where it was not trauma induced. I don't want to say that there wasn't some type of trauma at some point throughout my childhood, but I had an excellent childhood. Nothing went wrong. I had a great family. My story starts. I always like to tell people I'm kind of a product of the Ross County cocktail. And what I mean by that is like I took every step of repeated behaviors that led to addiction. I wasn't, you'll hear some people's story and they're like, I was 15 and I went to a friend's house and we started doing heroin. That wasn't me. My story started at the most common number everyone starts at 13, where I started smoking cigarettes and stealing a beer from our friends' parents. And it was felt harmless. We did that for years. And then weed came into the picture as well. Again, felt harmless. All the way through the teenage years, and things just got progressively worse as it went along. But the problem was that there was no indications that things were not going okay for me. I was an athlete. I was a student. I got really good grades. I didn't get in trouble. So I had no idea that anything was even, I was doing anything wrong. So the use was like, we're just kids having fun. And then it just progressed from there. And not, like I said, I took every step of the way. I didn't skip a single one, from the weed and alcohol to pills, and then to a lot of pills, and then to the pills were too expensive. So we went to heroin, and then we went to shooting heroin, and then just on and on. The whole line. I didn't skip a single step. And by the time I had been doing that, for almost my entire teenage years, eventually, weirdly enough, like the money stopped for me. Like the well ran dry for like me just partying with my friends. And I woke up the next morning when I was shortly after I had turned 18 and was like, something's wrong. I don't feel great today. And I couldn't put my finger on it at first. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I think I'm hooked on this stuff. By that point, I had realized I had a significant major issue. Like I said, shortly after I turned 18, that was still in the pill stage at then. I hadn't even graduated to the point of heroin or fentanyl, or any of that stuff. So that's kind of a general outlook of what my childhood looked like. Great family, great parents. Everything was great growing up. I just would hang out with friends and we would do stuff, and we didn't stop doing stuff. And some of them did. They didn't progress on to harder stuff. Some of us did, including myself.
Yeah.
And others are dead now. Their addiction, and that's just the reality of it. Some of us never got there. Some of us made it out, and some of us never went home. And that's just the reality of it. So that's kind of what my teenage years looked like, if that answers your question on my home life and stuff like that. I have a cat trying to break into my room.
Do this one, or when it.
Yeah. So would you say probably when you were 18, that's when it became unmanageable for you?
So I knew I had a substance abuse problem, but when you talk manageable things, I don't think everything's manageable all the way up to it's not. And I was able to hold down a job until I was close to 20, 21 in that area. And things were spiraling, but it wasn't out of control yet. I knew I had an issue, but I was working and I was able to continue using without, running out of money or anything like that. So I was, if you want to call it a functioning addict, maybe. I don't know if that's a real thing, but it certainly, I was doing my best to manage it for a couple years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like mine became unmanageable when I chose it over my kids. I chose it over eating. I chose it over showering. I chose it over anything.
Yeah.
That's when it was unmanageable for me. So I don't know if it's functioning but what you want to call it. But yeah, it would definitely be functioning.
My high school years, that's when I would consider myself a functioning addict, because after high school, if I'm even have a hint of being sick, I'm not going to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can't do it.
That's when work stopped for me. I couldn't sustain going to work with the way I was feeling, how much I needed to consume. So that's when things truly started to really go downhill progressively fast. And that's also trauma or trigger alert right when the needle came in too. When the needle came in, it was a whole different ball game. I immediately couldn't work anymore, and things kind of spiraled out of control. And you were talking a second ago about how like when it became unmanageable for you was when like you started neglecting everything else. And it's the same scenario. My brain had at that point replaced like food, water, shelter, sex with the drug. So, and it's not. It always gets to that point for everybody at some point. But yeah, that's why it's not uncommon to see skinny people who are homeless on drugs in the street with no family or friends or girlfriend. Like they've replaced all of that. Those are the biological needs that we as a human are it's ingrained in our DNA that this is important: food, water, shelter, sex. And all of a sudden, through the repeated pattern of using, it's been replaced. And that's what happened to me. I didn't care about anything else. So
yeah. You described addiction as a life of obsession and compulsion that you couldn't stop. What was that day-to-day reality like for you?
So I have a sponsor, or a former sponsor of mine. I'd really rather just call him a good friend, who used to say addiction was like the drug had a steering wheel in my back and it took me wherever it wanted to go. So when I talk about obsession and compulsion, it was like the decisions were already made for me. I was just being pushed to go execute them. When you're in active use, the obsession part of it is the minute you wake up, your thoughts are either consumed by how am I getting money or how am I using today or what do I have to do to use. And then the compulsion part of that is you'll go through a list of how can I get what I need to get today. And if one of those things is not very good, you'll do it compulsively because that's you feel like you don't have any other option at that point. So yeah, a life controlled by that's again, I had people that I took advice from recovery. They were like struggling with the concept or the idea of obsession and compulsion was big for me.
For me, it was like when I think about it like that, like I think even deeper into it because like when it came to my daughter or if I knew it was going to be a serious negative consequence, it was never enough to fucking make me steer the other way, right? Like, damn the consequences, this is what I got to do. Like, I'll accept what happened, but really I don't.
Right. But as long as you get that right, that's what's important.
Well, you knew that consequences were coming as well, and you chose to do it anyway. That's the real terrible part of addiction, because I consciously was aware of what was about to happen, what I was about to do, and I did it anyway. I knew there were going to be consequences. I stole that bag from the store. I knew there was going to be consequences. I skipped that court date. I knew there was going to be consequences. I did it all anyway,
Yeah, for sure. That's like my brother, and I'm not trying to put him out there, but like, you get caught on camera from stealing from a store, and the first thing that pops in his mind is like, oh, it's just a misdemeanor,
right?
You know what I mean? So that's the type of, and I'm the same way. Yeah.
What's the worst they can do? Give me 90 days. That's fine.
Yeah. I did 90 days standing on my head. You know what I mean?
Right.
How many times have I been to jail? That's
fortunately for me. Legal and criminal history was not a huge part of my story either. I have a couple misdemeanor charges that got me a grand total of 13 days in Ross County Jail. So like that was enough for me. Yeah. I did 10 days in Ross County and was like, you know what? I think I might go get my life together. That really sucked. Yeah, it was.
That's so funny. I was doing an application the other night, and I'm like, I'm going through, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane. And you're like 10 days, and I'm like, man, I wish I did 10 days.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you. What was he saying, Matt?
I said we got to harvest the whole tree to have enough paper to print her record. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's insane. And I'm like, man, I really wasn't that bad. But then I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I was. I was terrible.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was a bad human being. Like, I wasn't a bad person. I just did really bad things, and I broke the law. So, guys, don't do it. It's a trap. I'm telling you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Don't let me lie to you either, because the real reason that 10 days was enough for me was after I got out of jail, I was ordered to seek an outpatient assessment. I went to that outpatient assessment. They put me in outpatient. I failed every single drug test they gave me for about 2 weeks. And my counselor said, hey, man, they're going to just lock you up. And I was like, maybe I should try the inpatient thing. And not only I was still extremely sick at this time. My thought was like, not let's go get help. It was like going to inpatient treatment gives me more time to figure out how I can get high without going to jail. That was the idea behind it. I was like, I'll go to inpatient treatment and I'll figure out how to get high when I get there, rather than doing 160 days in the county, the rest of my time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually how it goes, though. You're always trying to figure out how you can get past something.
Mm-hmm.
I left my first rehab convinced I could control it.
Yeah.
I was like, as long as I don't do heroin, I'm just gonna cook meth and do meth, and I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn, now I'm doing both. I can't do one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So how did addiction affect your relationships with your family and friends?
So, friendship wasn't a real thing. Kind of like after school, everything I did was focused on, obtaining and using. I had acquaintances and people I would see and stuff like that, but I don't know if I would say any true friendships during that time. And all of that was on me because I internally had more priorities than that. The family thing is different. I grew up with my grandparents. Just my mom was always in the picture, but she moved around a lot. So I stayed at my grandparents' house so I wouldn't have to move to schools. And towards the end, come here, Noah. You want to see my daughter real quick? What's wrong? Do you not feel good? Are you all right? You want to go lay with mommy for a second? Okay. Well, I'm trying to do something right now. Can you give me a minute? Okay. Lay with mommy.
Oh, is she not feeling good either?
No, I think the whole house has got it. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But anyways, I butchered the relationships with family all the way up until they passed away. My mom's still alive, and my other family, my grandma and grandpa ended up passing away. My grandpa passed away in active addiction. That was the roughest time in my life. He was my dad. He raised me. Like I said, my biological dad was not in the picture growing up. I don't have a whole lot of regrets from my time using. I wish I would have done something differently. But today I'm able to contextualize things and know that, maybe some things happen for a reason and all that. But the one thing I wish I could change was how I had treated or how I had affected the latter years of my grandpa's life. I was his only boy in theory. He had 3 daughters, and then I was the first grandchild and the first boy, and I lived with him. So might as well have been his and been his first boy. You know what I mean? But I made the last couple years of his life hell, and I think about it all the time. That's one of the only things I wish I could change. when he passed away, this is again a testament to like how powerful addiction is. Like I said, I don't try to go into like a whole lot of story, like when it comes to leads and stuff, because I don't feel like a lot of it's important, especially dirt and stuff like that, or talking about war stories and all that stuff. I don't really do it. But the day my grandpa died, when I saw him for the last time, he said, hey, I want you to go get help, and I want you to take care of your grandma. And I said, all right. And I was like, all right, I will. Well, I didn't get help until like 4 months later. Even that was not enough for me. You know what I mean? And that's a sickening feeling. In retrospect, looking back on it, was like, the death of the person I love the most in this world was not able to get me to go get clean right then. It wasn't an egregiously long time after that, but it was still 4 months before I went and got help, and I even did that in a way that was manipulative. You know what I mean? I didn't find real recovery until I was close to halfway through my treatment stay, when things started to click for me. Up to that point, it was still a half measure that was going to get me nowhere.
Yeah. You mentioned your legal consequences. How did those experiences influence your journey?
Yeah, like I just said, the probation and stuff like that was a key factor in what got me to go to treatment, because I didn't want to go back to jail. So it was for sure a fake it till you make it type of situation. With the legal consequences, anytime we have a client come to treatment who has a referral source from a PO, I'm like, excellent. You know what I mean? Because even if they don't want to be here, one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to get it at some point, or they're going to get the proper legal consequences they need that might change their life in the future. If someone needs to get locked up, they need to get locked up, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what the legal consequences did for me. Like I said, they weren't extensive. I didn't do a lot of time locked up, but I talk about it to this day. If I wasn't on probation for a petty theft when I overdosed and got charged with a drug abuse instrument, maybe I wouldn't have gotten sent for 10 days in jail, and then I wouldn't have went to outpatient afterwards. And then who knows, may have never gotten my life together. So I try to look at it from that perspective, that like, I'm grateful for the legal system. I harbor no ill will towards it.
For sure. Saved my life.
Mm-hmm. Same. Did you ever feel like it was like hopeless, or that recovery was impossible?
All the way up until there was maybe like a flicker of hope. But like, I remember the day sitting in process group announcing to the group that I was like 10 days clean, and I couldn't believe that I had made 10 days, but it still felt like it was an impossible hill to climb for me. And it wasn't until, like I said, maybe halfway through my inpatient stay where things started to click for me. And that's kind of where my life changed there. If you want me to talk about that more, if you have other questions.
You want to ask anything about that?
No.
All right, you realize that the problem wasn't just drugs, right? And who you were as a person. What led to that breakthrough?
Gotcha. So
you were the problem.
Yeah. So so that question is actually the segue into the next part of my journey, for sure. So I had already told you guys and established that my intentions on entering treatment were not necessarily um, good. I had intentions on trying to figure out how to get high while I was in treatment without going to jail. And that's exactly what happened. I was about 50 days into my inpatient stay, and I used on a pass. And of course, I came back and had consequences. Extreme guilt and shame over the situation, and it didn't really make sense to me either. I was having a moral complex about the situation because I was like, I just can't understand what would make me want to use again after being clean for 40, 50, 60 days. And I swear, this is the moment where it all changed for me. I was in the group room and I heard a counselor named Mike D, excellent guy, talking to another client. He wasn't even talking to me. I heard the information third party. And the client was having a similar existential crisis like I was. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with me, what's going on, why I continue to do these things. And Mike told him, he said, there's no chemical solution to a spiritual problem, right? He was like, you don't really have a problem with drugs. You have a problem with you. That's what you need to figure out. And it was like that moment of, I can't believe that I've spent all this time thinking I have a drug problem when what I really have is like a very deep-seated Jared problem. And that's what I needed to work on. And I think that's often where a lot of people in recovery fail. And I try to tell my clients all the time, I'm like, there's no one route for all of this stuff. But I was like, I need you to know the success rate of people I see who make it. If you're the same person at day 0 that you are at 120, but you haven't used drugs, I'm extremely concerned about you, because drugs are not even half of the problem that you have. The problem is who you are as a person, and the way you think and the way you act and the way you talk and what you do and where you go. And if you're unwilling to change that kind of stuff, my concern for you is extremely high. So that's what I did. I of course, like I said, failed my drug test, heard that information from an excellent counselor, and I also received a 1 month WAP. So I had a month to think about what I had just done and to explore things that I needed to work on while I was there. So that was really the moment where things started to click for me. Was then.
So during this time, like, that's pretty much your kind of your spiritual awakening, right? Because
It absolutely is.
I'm in a holding cell with my lawyer, and he's like, Matt, it comes down to 2 words: my conduct. And I go back to the pod, and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, this is the way I talk to people, the way I think of myself, the way I think of other people. Like, this is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this moment. How do you start changing things from there? What did you do different?
So up to that point, ironically, was not going to meetings. I did not have a sponsor. I was not working any type of steps. I had exactly 0 spirituality whatsoever to the whole program. And once I started doing those things is when things started to open up for me. I took my actions and my thoughts and my behaviors more seriously, and took moral inventories, nightly inventories. The stuff they beat people over the head with in treatment. I actually did them. It worked. That's weird. But I took some advice from other people, and it actually worked for me. Because people are so defiant in treatment these days. But I'll tell you what really did it for me, which kind of segues into the out of my inpatient stay and into transitional, was I knew during this time that I needed to develop a spiritual aspect to my recovery, because I assumed, the easiest way to change me was to change who I am as a person. And I figured developing a spiritual program can't hurt that. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew it was probably something important I should do. But it was kind of, a back thought for me. So I'm about 100 days in at the inpatient center I was at, and something happened, and I was upset about something. I asked my counselor, I was like, man, get me out of here. I don't, this isn't doing me any good anymore. I've learned what I need to learn, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, all right. So they set me up with a date because I was a good client at that point. I went from day 50 relapse to day 100. They're like, you want to go? Sure. But like, I had progressed that much.
Yeah.
But so they gave me a date. It was like a couple days later. And I go. Yeah, the whole house is sick right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, she'll be all right. But yeah, she's actively throwing up right now. Yeah. But anyways, they gave me a date. It was like a couple days out, and I was getting ready to go back home and do outpatient. And my counselor comes to me like the day before and was like, sorry about this. We want to keep you for an additional week, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just, I've been here 5 days. What's another week? Let's just do it. So the day before I'm set to go home, they announce in morning group that a place called Another Chance Ministries in Chillicothe was having open interviews that morning. And when I tell you, it was like a lightning bolt hit the room where I was like, this might be the first time in my life where someone's speaking to me and I should listen now. The things lined up too much for me to ignore. And it felt more like the things that I thought were coincidence were starting to turn into confirmation. Like if I had been having thoughts about I need to develop a spiritual aspect to my program, I was scheduled to go home. It was extended, and then the day before I'm going home, a place I had heard about that is a spiritual program is having open interviews, and it felt like a lightning bolt hit the room, and it felt like maybe for the first time in my life, God was speaking to me, not audibly, but the overwhelming sensation. It made me want to puke, and it was telling me like, hey, I've been here the whole time. You haven't listened very much. I need you to listen now. And I did. I went to that open interview. They asked me about why I wanted to come there, and I was like, I'll tell you why I wanted to come here. God told me this morning that I need to. And they, of course, about it or whatever. But they're like, when do you need a bed? I'm like, you're not gonna believe this. Tomorrow. So they were like, all right. And I ended up going there the next day, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Now, it's also important to note at this point, I am starting to get things together a little bit. So I had full intentions on going back home to live with my grandma and to help her, like the promise I had made my grandpa. He was like, get clean, go home, help grandma. That was the plan. And I threw a wrench into that plan because I knew I needed more help. And I felt like I had something bigger for me in store if I listened to what was being instructed to me. And thankfully, my grandma was super okay with that and accepting. I'm very glad and grateful that she got to see me get it together. She passed away when I was like, I was coming up 2 years clean, so she did get to see, her grandson as a decent human being. But yeah, that was really kind of when things started to really ramp up on the recovery side. Because I always tell people that Kent's Place helped me get clean, but then Another Chance Ministries taught me a new way to live. And that is so much more important than everything else, in my opinion. That kind of bleeds into my work today as well as a case manager. I'm a strong believer in tangible assets. So like the more someone has, the more unwilling they are to give it up, or the more unwilling they are to slide back. So if someone has a car, if they have a license, if they have a job, if they have a house, they have all of these things, it's recovery is less about not using and more about making a life easier to not want to use. And that's what ACM did for me. It was like, we're going to change everything about you, and we're going to do it in a spiritual way. And man, stuff, not only did my character defects and me as a person really take off at that time, but I mean, blessings on blessings ever since. I've regained everything I ever lost 10 times over, and I'm very grateful for all that. Is she okay? What's wrong with her?
She's just puking.
Violently puking like everybody else? Yeah. Might have to take her to the doctor.
I feel for you guys. I don't want to puke. I don't want to puke.
Yeah.
Rather make anybody sick.
Go from mowing to snow.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so you've been sober since 5/19, right? What
Yes.
does a typical day of recovery look like for you now?
Now, I want you to think of the most boring day you can think of, and that's about what I do. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I wake up in the morning. I get kids ready for school and all that. Work 8 to 4, come home, take care of the kids, hang out with the wife. I don't have an extremely exciting lifestyle. I do have hobbies that I do on the weekend and stuff like that, but I mostly, I think, through the process of learning more about myself and my recovery journey, I realized that I valued peace more than anything. So, and that's why I had so much internal chaos while I was using, was I just had no peace internally at all. So now I'm like, listen, I just want to come home. I want to eat dinner. I want to hang out with my wife. And I want to go to bed. That's a very peaceful evening for me.
That's our life, bro.
That's what I want to
Yeah.
do these days. Yeah.
Chicken parmesan.
This boring life I live is everything I prayed for. You know what
That's-
I mean?
That's exactly. Listen, man, like I said, I have everything I ever lost times 10. And that's not an exaggeration. I'm talking about everything. We got a house with a white picket fence, dog. Like, dude, I was borderline homeless at one point, a decade ago, or was at least living that way, if not homeless. So yeah, I value a simple life now. Absolutely.
What challenges have you faced since you've got clean?
I would say probably the biggest is managing stress. I think that's pretty important and pretty crucial. That's why I do the things I need to do to value my peace of mind. But yeah, probably the biggest thing is, I think from the minute I wake up in the morning, I'm kind of accountable to everybody else. And there's very little moments in the day where it's like, this is me. And I need to, protect myself from getting super stressed out. Sometimes I go to work and I have anywhere from a dozen to dozen and a half clients who, if I don't fix their life by this Thursday, they're going to be very upset with me.
Yeah.
And then when I get done doing that at home or doing all the traveling around and court dates and scheduled appointments and all of that stuff, I come home and I have to be a dad and a father and a husband. And there might be days where I don't have much time to myself until after everybody else goes to bed. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to make sure that I'm very keenly aware of, is like, hey, when do I need a minute? Because things are being overwhelming for me. that might look like asking the wife if I can go to a card show on the weekend, or hey, do you care if I sit in the living room tonight and watch Lord of the Rings by myself? Like, you know what I mean? Just something to kind of help me unwind a little bit in a healthy way. So
Yeah.
that's what I do. Managing stress is a big one for me.
It's crucial.
Beyond crucial.
You stress sometimes.
Yeah. So
Well, I
you
think
said you were getting.
people get
sorry.
overwhelmed and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and just being honest, especially it gets easier as you're years and years in. But you know, the first while when you're in recovery, it's like, man, this would just be easier to just go get high than to have to
Yeah.
deal with all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And
That's
it
it
takes
right there.
it takes time. It takes time to lose that mindset, but it's a wonderful feeling when you realize that that's the case, though, because I remember exactly when it was. It was probably about 2 years, maybe 18 months into recovery, where I, you know, was having a moment where I was drinking some coffee. It was early in the morning, and I was like, you know, the more I think about it, some like this past month has like really sucked. Like things have not went good at all. Nothing has went my way. Um, things just are not cool right now. And then it occurred to me, I was like, I didn't think about getting high once during that
Yeah.
time. And I had that moment of realization of like, oh, I getting high isn't on the list of options anymore. And that's an excellent feeling. Now, continued recovery is important because we can still have a lot of terrible thoughts as well. Just because we're not thinking about using doesn't mean I won't be like, you know, this shit sucks. I'm just gonna go get cigarettes and milk and leave forever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
abandon my whole life. You know, that's not a great thought either. And I'm exaggerating and joking there. I don't really have thoughts of doing that, but you understand what I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
For me,
thankfully,
it's behaviors, man.
Mhm.
Like using is nowhere in my mind, but like I do have to stay into it. Am I being an asshole? Am I being selfish? You know what I mean?
Am I only thinking of myself?
Right.
You
I
know
also
what I
have
mean?
a wife that'll point that shit out to me and call me out on it. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And that's
I
good for me.
I don't. Anyone who watches this or listens to me, don't let me pretend like I am having it all together, because I am not. I have times where it's like I've had the wife look at me and like, hey, you need to knock it off now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I went too far. You know what I mean? Or the good thing is though is like those moments come where like I have, you know, like I said, moments where I'm like, that was not correct behavior on my part. The good news is through years of recovery, I can recognize that almost instantly, as opposed to I may or may not have recognized that before. I may not have even thought I had done anything wrong. Now it's like within a couple minutes, I might be the first person to apologize. I'll recognize pretty quick, like, hey, my behavior there was completely inappropriate. So I have character defects just like everybody else. One of those character defects today, though, isn't let's go get high about it. Essentially,
Yeah.
I gotta work on all the others though.
It's continued working on yourself and treating your addiction day in,
Absolutely.
every day, guys, every day. So how has being a father and a husband shaped your approach to life and recovery?
So that's a great point. One of the things that I found out that was an issue of mine when I was using or going through the early recovery process is I had a nasty habit of thinking everything was about me. I was the most important person.
Sure.
Everything I did kind of revolved around me. I, prior to getting clean, had never had a kid, never had my own place, anything. I was leeching off of my family. So it was all about me. Through the recovery process, not only did I learn that, that's a terrible mindset to be in, but like, I'm not always the smartest person in the room. I'm not always the one who has it right. I actually don't know anything most of the time. And that's really what's helped me is like, with the whole family dynamic is like, hey, listen, man, not everything's about you, so I have people that depend on me, and that keeps me grounded even when it's a super stressful day. um, People need me, and that helps, like I said, just keep me accountable. I take great value in that, um, being a dad, being a husband. um,
How long did it take you to be able to accept criticism?
Oh, constructive criticism. That's always good.
Probably.
That hit that.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. Probably when I started to accept criticism was probably around the time I had, the spiritual awakening. Like, I was okay with people calling me out on my actions or behaviors and stuff like that. Before, it was like, who are you? I don't need to listen to anything you say. I'm the smartest one here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as I let my ego go about, like, hey man, first of all, if you are the smartest person in the room, then you need to find a different room to hang out in, because this room's not gonna do you any good. And I got news for people. You're very rarely ever the smartest person in the room. So be open minded, take advice, and go in with the mindset of like, um, you know, uh, a fool thinks himself a wise man, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool. Like, being smart has more to do with, like, I don't know anything. Can someone help teach me? You know what I mean? You're gonna get farther doing stuff like that than you are just pretending like you know it all.
Yeah. How do you define success in recovery today?
For me, I think it's when you've established a new way to live.
I'm coming.
Yeah, she's sick. Just when you get to a point in your recovery where you're like, I'm a new creature. I'm not the same person I was before, and that takes time. It does. But one day you wake up and you're like, I'm not the person I was. Again, I'm a new creature in Christ, or whatever your higher power is. Um, that's kind of what I think how it was for me. So, I apologize for the weird answers. I'm extremely distracted by a daughter who's coming in.
Oh, you got a lot going on, bro. You
you do.
You're killing it.
And honestly, we're coming to the closing. Just the last couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you and your family feel better soon.
Of course.
Hopefully, you guys wake up tomorrow and you're not hugging tulips.
But,
right. Looking back, what would you tell your younger self about the path of addiction that addiction took you down?
Boy, that's a deep one. If I had to give my younger self advice, because like I said, I've established before, I'm not so sure that I don't know that everything wasn't purposeful or intentional on the part of the higher power that I believe in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to say don't do this or don't do that, but if I could give advice to using Jared, it would be develop a relationship with God now, and maybe things would have been different for me, or maybe not. So that's probably the advice I'd give, though.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Stay strong. We make it.
Right. Yeah.
You
No,
know?
that's an excellent one. I'd maybe tell myself like, hey, the battles are gonna come, but just so you know that you're gonna have a 100% success rate on winning all of them. You're gonna make it through.
Yeah.
So that's excellent advice there.
For
The
someone
weapon will
struggling
form,
with
but may not prosper.
Yeah.
for someone struggling with addiction right now, what's the first step they should take?
So the first step that's going to actually help for them is real conviction. But that doesn't necessarily come immediately. What I would do is if someone is listening to this and they're using and they don't know how to get help, or they don't want to embarrass themselves or whatever, I'm not gonna say run to the first treatment center, because that very rarely works. What I do recommend is talking to somebody about it. Like the secrets are what really keep people sick, and maybe just talking to someone will open the door to getting help at some point. I have been pretty open in the past before about, like, if you're struggling, reach out to me and I will do everything I can to help you out or to get you in treatment or whatever. But I also have been in this field for a while, and I know that I can hold your hand and I can walk with you, but I can't carry you. So there has to be some type of willingness on people's part, and only they're going to develop that willingness. I can't talk someone into wanting to get clean. I don't have that gift. Now some people do, and that's great. I do not. I need you to walk beside me, and I'll show you where to go. But I can't carry you. I'm carrying enough.
So how do you stay committed to your new way of life today, like being sober? How do you stay committed to this, just being who you are today?
I am a firm believer of, one, not only am I a new creature in Christ, I'm not the same person I was before. So that does help, but I'm not diminishing or forgetful of the past I had lived before. So I always tell people, you can't just completely forget about your past and your old ways, right? You want to be a new person, you want to move on and move forward, but you can't forget everything. So the example I always used is, like, you imagine you're driving and every now and then you have to see what's behind you. So you give the mirror a peek to see what's behind, because you have to know what's behind you, but you can't drive. You can't drive in the rear view, or you're gonna crash. Like we have to look forward. We have to look forward, take a glance back every now and then. But if I'm stuck just always looking in the past, I'm gonna hit something in front of me. That's kind of what I do.
For sure. How do you describe essence of recovery to someone who's never experienced it?
What was the first part of that question?
How would you describe the essence of recovery to somebody who has never experienced it?
The essence of recovery.
How would you describe it?
Yeah, I don't want to get too preachy or anything for people, but this is just where I came up from and what helped me. But the essence of recovery, for people who have never experienced it before, is a peace that surpasses all understanding. I have no way to explain to you the emotions and how it feels to know that you're no longer a slave to addiction. The only advice I can give you is you'd never regret it. And again, it's, like I said, a peace that quite literally surpasses all understanding. I don't have an explanation for you other than there's not an amount of money in the world you could offer me to go back to using.
And that's what it looks like, guys. That's what sobriety looks like. Even when you're sick, puking in a toilet, and your whole house is sick, he still showed up to share his story with you guys.
That's
I tried.
No, you did amazing.
Listen, Listen, the enemy tried to get me to stop and message you guys all day. He was like, just message, tell him you're sick. Don't do it. And I just kept thinking, I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy. I made a commitment. You know what I mean? So
I believe
the enemy tried, it didn't succeed.
Did not succeed.
I believe someone needed to hear this message, and that's why you gave it, bro.
That's why you did it.
Yeah.
Puking and all in the background, dude. Kudos to you. You're awesome. And I hope your family, all of you guys start to feel better. And, thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you guys. I'd love to come back on one day. Do it again sometime.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have an open discussion about, just life and recovery or something. But yeah, definitely for sure come back on. Let us know when you're available.
Sounds excellent.
Might be raw and real. You never know. All right. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you guys.
I appreciate you, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thomas said, I'm glad I got to hear your story. I definitely needed to hear this.
Thank you, man.
See, there it is, Jared.
Confirmation, brother.
All right, Jared. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Go take care of your family.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, join us Wednesday with Mr. Barry, 7 to 8:30. And do not forget to like me on YouTube. Bottom. What just happened there?
What happened?
Go like and follow our page on both, like I said, you and Facebook on pages from our phone. Also, join us Wednesday.
With Barry.
There you go.
I wanted to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got it.
That's
and
good.
everybody give a shout out to, Jared and Ashley. Thank you. Awesome job. She said, give a shout out to Jared. He come on here and he did. He rocked it out. He gave his story, even though, he probably vomit. He had a whole house full of sick people. So his whole family was sick. So that right there is true.
Thank God we're never sick at the same time.
True recovery.
We have been one something.
That's true recovery. And dedication. And he definitely stepped up and he nailed it. That's all I'm gonna say. Because he nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. And I also want to encourage support and recovery in all the communities and everybody listening. Shout out to our Athens family and everybody else watching. Thomas, Ashley, and I know shit. God, you guys hate it when you forget somebody's name or what you're about to say. Just connect with your mouth. That was it.
Talking Athens.
We appreciate you guys.
Ashley, Stephanie.
Yeah. My bride partner. I know she's not watching right now because she's got her Bible study. That's why we're gonna rock it out on Wednesdays. Remember, guys, beginning April 1st, we will only be doing the podcast every Wednesday. So if you guys know anybody who wants to come on in April to do podcasts on Wednesdays with us and share their story for somebody who might need to hear it, because I'm telling you, somebody might need to hear it. Get a hold of us. We'll get you guys scheduled or get the person scheduled. We're always welcome to anybody who wants to come sit and talk with us and have a conversation.
Yeah. Also, if anyone out there is struggling, please reach out to us. Somebody.
Hotlines.
Anybody that's on our page, they will help you in some way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Reach out. Connection is everything, guys. And if you take away any from this episode, it's that even in recovery, people still struggle, and even when struggling, they still, are willing to give back. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and use just to get sick or whatever the case may be.
And the famous Alan Walsh.
Ooh.
Don't be a shit truck.
Don't be a shit truck. Yeah. Me too. Don't be a shit truck. Are you gonna fucking relapse, Miss Burkett? Oh, that was always I hate it when he called her. He'd be like, Ken, you're gonna fucking relapse Not, but you
You're
know.
gonna fucking die early.
Oh God rest his soul. Walsh, yeah, he would have been a good one. He would have been a good one to come on here, guys. Awesome. I miss Alan. Alan was a good dude, even with his little wizards and potions.
And
They were real to him. God rest his soul. We love him. We miss him. We miss everybody that's lost their lives to this disease, and way too many.
That's why we do this.
That's why we do this. Just today, look in the mirror and thank God that you know what, it's not you today. I do every day.
You're now a light to someone else.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's it.
I want to be a light.
You shine, baby.
You said you shine. Oh God, join us Wednesday, guys, and we appreciate all you guys, every one of you guys, for all the support you guys give us. You guys do not understand how much it means to us. And stand by for sure. If you guys need one made at home, shout out to Stacy. She won them up.
You guys got a custom request you want to make for a shirt? Reach out, tell us what you want. We'll make it happen.
Make it happen.
Make it happen, Captain.
All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. We'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.